Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibro. My name is Brian, and this Michigan auto worker confronts Trump with an unexpected question in front of a massive crowd. But how Trump responds will give you chills. But before we dive in, I want to give a quick shout out to our great sponsors over at Colonial Metals Group. They quite literally have the cure to fight inflation and Harris economics, but more on that later. Now, let's dive in.
Our company's based here in the U.S. We melt steel and we make automotive parts out of ductile iron for brake components, axle components, and those are made for the big three here. Sadly, though, we're losing jobs to China, India, Mexico, and it's become more difficult to compete. Manufacturers like us, we are some of the largest users of energy, and under Harris and Biden, the energy costs have tripled. So my question is, what will you do to get energy back down so us U.S. manufacturers can compete and bring it back to the jobs here?
Yeah, so it's a great question. A lot of people have the same question because it's affecting their companies. I just left one. A man from the Netherlands, we made a speech, a wonderful guy, and he said the problem was he opened up because of me. He opened in 2017, and he had 3 great years. And now with them, he's not doing well. What we're doing is, I said about the energy as to what we do and how we do it. But China's coming in, and you said Mexico. Mexico's a big threat now. Mexico's taking a lot of your business, and we're not going to let that happen. We need a smart series of tariffs and taxes, Marcia, and it's very simple business. You know, China won't take cars from outside of China. They only take them if you build in China. You have to build your factory. So if I'm making a car and I think I'm going to sell it into China, they have a massive over 100% tariff. So what you do is you say, to not pay that tariff, I'm going to have to build my factory in China. And they encourage it. They help it. We're going to be doing the same thing, but we're going to do it even better. We're going to bring cars back. We're going to bring, like you say, what are you, auto parts and things like that, right? We're going to bring that all back to this country. It's all coming back. If they had to pay tariffs on what they're doing and what they're selling into our country, they wouldn't be putting your business out of business if that's where you're going. It will never happen, and we're going to do it just the opposite. Plus, we're lowering the tax rate. So I took it from 39% to 21%. These are for companies, and that's why we had the great numbers for jobs. But now what I'm doing is I'm going, and nobody thought that was possible, and I got it approved by Congress, believe it or not. Now we're going to from 21 to 15%, but you have to make your product in the USA. So if you want to take advantage of the low tax rate, you have to make your product. So we'll be down to 15%. That gives us one of the lowest tax rates in the whole world, so it's more than competitive. Companies will come here. But in addition to that, we're going to keep this really terrible competition. I don't mind the word competition, but it's predatory. And we're going to keep this competition out so that you're able to grow your business and grow it well. And you'll make the product and you'll sell it inside our country. And I know exactly what your situation is. And it's so easy to solve. We're going to need the help of the Senate. We're going to need the help of the House. And if they won't do it, I have the authorization and the power to do it myself, and we'll have to do it. Okay?
Y'all, this might be the most important question for the entirety of the 2024 presidential campaign. What are you going to do to bring jobs back? We've already seen what happens under the Biden-Harris administration. And that is you throw more money at the problem and pray that something happens. Well, they prayed, and I think they prayed to the worst possible deity because we got a massive amount of inflation, job growth has stagnated, and we've only got manufacturing jobs because of the CHIPS Act. And again, the CHIPS Act was necessary because China is saber-rattling in an attempt to invade Taiwan. What's so important about that? Taiwan produces all of our superconductors. What does that mean? Every single microchip you have has a superconductor of some kind. Taiwan produces a huge amount, and if China makes through with their threats and tries to invade the island, well, there goes our ability to make smartphones and really make any piece of technology. It has huge lasting impacts. And so that's pretty much the only thing that the Biden-Harris administration can offer. a bipartisan bill that was passed out of necessity and an infrastructure bill that did nothing to increase infrastructure. If our infrastructure bill was actually invested into that, there wouldn't be a flooding problem in North Carolina. But that's a different topic for another day. Now compare that to the Trump campaign.
Hey y'all, I'm not exactly looking at retirement anytime soon, but my parents are, and friends of my parents are, and I'm sure either you or someone you know is looking at retirement and wondering, what do I do? How do I help prepare for this in this economy with this terrible president and with a vice president who basically coup d'etat him and is now looking to run for president herself? How do you protect against this? Well, simple. You go over to my friends at Colonial Metals Group. They quite literally have something called the Retirement Package Plan. This plan backs your wealth with gold and silver accounts. And furthermore, you will have direct access to these accounts. So you're not at the whims of Wall Street. You're not at the whims of inflation. You are in command of your own destiny. As a bonus, qualified applicants can receive up to $10,000 in free silver, plus a couple of other little goodies that they're going to package up for you, and you're going to be able to protect your wealth and your retirement. So go over to this link in the description below at colonialmetalsgroup.com or call this number 800-203-0422 and see how they can help you prepare for retirement today by backing your account with gold and silver. Don't delay your retirement, folks. Protect the money that you earned with Colonial Metals Group. They're here to help.
What did Trump do during his office? He cut the corporate tax rate, quite literally in the video. He cut the corporate tax rate from 39% to 21%, and the economy exploded. That's good basic Republican economics in action. What is Republicans' response to everything? Let's just throw a tax cut at the problem. And that seems to work. He did it again with the economic opportunity zones. But there's something that he hasn't been able to fully fix, and that is something that the auto workers and a whole bunch of union manufacturing jobs and workers are starting to realize. There is something deeply wrong in the entire system, and the Democrats have not done anything to help American labor. I remember, I'm just young enough to remember, that Democrats used to care about illegal immigration, they cared about protecting American workers, and they cared about protecting American health. All right, they wanted to make sure that people were getting not necessarily healthy products, but they cared more about the average American's health than the Republicans did. That was the late 90s, early 2000s Democrat. Now the Republican Party is the party of the worker because Democrats have just abandoned them. The Republican Party is the party of we care about your health. That's why Trump brought in RFK Jr. That's one of his big steals. And I agree with them because I've worked in these places. I've seen how the sausage is made, quite literally, not just politically. I used to work in a protein powder factory, and the stuff that they put in, oh boy, it's a bit of an eye-opener once you realize what the stuff actually does. So that is how far the Democrats have just abandoned their people. And so you have union workers, auto workers, clamoring to see if Trump is going to offer them something. And he does. He's saying that China is gaming the system, that Mexico had gamed the system for a while, except that Trump renegotiated the trade deals with Mexico, and lo and behold, guess what? It kind of worked. Now, what China does is that they force a tariff. If you want to buy Chinese-made cars, and I have no idea why you would, they're notorious for cutting corners. If you want to buy a Chinese-made car, it's going to be cheaper, but there's going to be a 100% tariff on it if it's not made in China. So what does the manufacturer do? They ship a factory over to China to produce the cars for cheaper. That doesn't work out so well for the American worker, and Democrats don't seem to understand this. And ironically enough, the Republican Party doesn't seem like they understand it too much either. Traditional conservatives are just up in arms about this, and that's understandable. They're free market people, but I want to ask him, how is the free market benefiting the United States? How did that benefit the UK? It hollowed out the UK's manufacturing sector, and now Northern England has nothing. And the Rust Belt, they're wondering what's going on. And now Trump is saying that he has a plan to help these people by cutting the corporate tax rate even lower and then having tariff policies against China to ensure more jobs for the United States worker. This has been a classic and battle-tested tactic. And I know economists, particularly in the Friedman School, I believe it's the Friedman School, Austrian School, I think is the best way to describe it, they don't like it that much. But that's how the American system was made. The whole idea of tariffs to protect American manufacturing, it kind of worked back in the 1800s. In the 1900s, it got a little weird. It caused a lot of problems. But now we're seeing that American workers are hurting, and they're hurting because they can't manufacturing anymore. It's too expensive. Everywhere else is cheaper because they cut corners and have cheaper labor costs. It's time to bring manufacturing back to the United States. The American worker deserves to have a good job that pays well to provide for their family. We deserve this as Americans, and Trump has a plan, whereas the Biden-Harris campaign is nothing to see here, everything's fine, don't worry about what's going on. We know that there's a problem, and Trump at least has a solution. I'm going to take my chances with that one. What say you? Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed the segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one, and until then, y'all have a good one.